Please stand clear. Please stand clear. Doors closing. Please stand clear. Doors closing. Please stand clear. Doors closing. Please stand clear. closing. Please stand clear.